Hello and welcome to another edition of Spindle TV. My name is Laney Shaughnessy and I'll be your host this evening. Thanks for everybody for joining me again, and joining me live on camera we have JR and Ronnie. JR and Ronnie, it's been a long time. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
Doing great.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm doing well too until about 2 seconds ago when I discovered that I changed my studio around. I have two separate desks. One that I'm standing at here, this is camera 1. Camera 4 is over the desk that has the Aspire software, and I have the wrong monitor hooked up for camera 4, so you wouldn't be able to see the Aspire software that I'm doing. So I just discovered that, ladies and gentlemen. So you're gonna have to give me just a quick second. First of all, a big shout out to Roger S., David, Roger Brown, Alan Lee, Ron Bishop, David Heineke. How are you doing? I literally just discovered my computer screen, computer screen that normally shows the design software. I have the wrong monitor plugged into my switcher. So I need just a quick minute, and I'm hoping what I'm about to do will work. So if you don't mind, guys, could you entertain the crowd? Talk amongst yourself. Give me just 1 second. I got the cable here.
Right back as soon as I plug my computer in.
Yeah, I got the cable with me, but I just need to take a second to get it done. I was all happy about my new setup in studio. I like, because I have a standing desk now where I can stand and kind of get a little fat sitting on my ass all day. So I want to be able to start, moving around and everything a little bit. And it was literally just 2 seconds before hitting going live that I realized I had the wrong monitor plugged into the drive. So give me just one moment, please.
So is that a new studio? I've missed the last couple, but
it's the same office studio, just completely redesigned. I have everything was all crammed into a corner, and now it's kind of spread out. So I have 2 desks. So I have camera 1 here, and then camera 3 and 4 are across the room, and where the green screen and everything that folks might be used to and everything. I plugged in the wrong monitor. So, but hopefully everything is well. Yeah, everything is well. We just had some roof damage. I was just telling Ronnie and them, we had some roof damage that, water got into the attic insulation and the drywall, and it was leaking into the house and everything. So we have 2 major breaches in the roof, but the roofers were out, tarped it up. They were real quick about it. And the homeowner's insurance appraiser was out yesterday, and just everybody's been really fast and great about it. So it's been good. Give me 1 second, gentlemen and ladies, and all that are watching. Just bear with me just one moment.
How you been doing, Ronnie?
yeah, doing good. Just staying crazy busy. Trying to keep up.
I think you're on mute, Ronnie.
No, Ronnie's not muted. I can hear him.
Yeah, no, it doesn't show me on mute.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, been blessed in the terms of being really busy. And then comes the fun part.
I may have to reboot because you're cutting in or something, so it's probably me.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. Now you're back, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You don't seem to be frozen or anything. I was able to hear Laney fine earlier.
Okay.
How about yourself? You been good?
For the most part, yeah. You know, just planning out stuff that I got to get done and starting to think about Christmas stuff, things like
Yeah,
that.
I tell you, I've got all of a sudden I've got these orders coming in for these end grain cutting boards, and maybe Laney's covered this in the past. I'll have to go back and look. But on these V-carve inlays, I've been seeing where people are doing these real deep inlays using tapered ball nose. But the fact that I think V12 doesn't allow you to use a tapered ball nose, but then there's been a whole controversy, like out here on groups of how you can do it. And I'm thinking, I wonder if Laney's broached that subject. There's a YouTuber out
What
there, I think,
subject is that, Ron?
doing these deep inlays on end grain cutting boards. I think somebody's has a site out
I
there
just
called.
taught a class on that last week.
Oh, really? With the tapered ball nose instead of the V bit?
No, a 15-degree V-bit to go deep versus like a 60 or a 90, using a 15-degree so you can get deep inlays for like butcher blocks or deep cutting boards and things. Never a ball nose. I wouldn't know how to do a V-carve inlay with a ball nose.
There is a guy, I think it's K&M Cabinets or something. He does tapered ball mills in version 12 and has it set up. There's another guy that, boy, I'm thinking that hangs out with Hamilton Delbert, who also uses that setup. If I get a chance, I'll look in it while we're in off screen, Ronnie.
Yeah. So I'll check that out too.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can you still hear me, guys, on the microphone?
Roger.
Roger. Okay. So, all right, let's see if we can, let me see if I can switch over. It's not the right monitor, but I think I can make it work. So let me see if I can switch over to it. So I need to be on camera source. Fill camera source is going to be camera 2. Camera 3, camera 4. We're getting there. And then this should be camera 2. All right, let's give it a go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if we can get me over here. So I'm hoping that I'm showing up okay and everything. And I'm hoping the software program is showing up. What we need to do is, let me just 1 second, switch back over. This, I'll fix that. I'll remedy that problem that I had just as soon as this class was over. But guys, see you in just a minute. We're going to go large so we can be seen here and everything. And I'm hoping that the display comes out okay on y'all's end. The question that I have for you is, number one, can you see me down here in the corner gentlemen?
Yep.
All right, cool. Number 2, the GhostFace that you see on the screen. Around these areas and everything, is it solid lines or dotted lines for you?
Kind of dotted and gapped.
Dotted and gaps, so like there's gaps and stuff right there?
Yep.
Okay. And that's important because there are no gaps there. So it means that the monitor, there are no gaps there. Absolutely none. And what you must be seeing is there's a big gap right here.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's not true. There is no gap there, and the gap changes as I zoom in and zoom out. Oh, geez, Louise, why did I discover this now and not earlier? Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. We'll try to make this as pleasant as possible. Oh boy, oh boy. Let's see if. Give me just one moment here. Let's see if we take that monitor and we're going to unplug it from here. Come all the way over to the mixer. I can't believe ladies and gentlemen, I swear I had everything. I was like, man, I'm so proud of myself. All right, let's see if this will work. You're going to see a blank screen for just a moment, most likely. Black screen. You'll still see my chair. There we go. All right. Now, the problem with that well, at least the dotted lines have disappeared. The only problem is so is my screen. The only reason I can see this, and it's fine. I think I'm going to make it work that way. The only reason I can see this is because I'm looking at my output window, what you, ladies and gentlemen, are seeing, my output window. And that's the only way that, because the, what the heck? Let's see. I don't know who that is. All right. So 1 second, everybody. My apologies, folks. We're going to get started here in just a second. I literally had no idea what a cluster punk that was. It is outputting the screen. And okay, one more thing, because y'all are still seeing that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost there. I swear, we're like 2 plugs away. One. Everybody's like, yeah, I got to go, lady. Okay. All right, one last thing. Let's go over here. Display. And let's identify display number 1 and display number 2. So it is still showing the TV, but it's not all broken up. So we can work with that. I just have to, if you, unfortunately, I wanted to be able to make eye contact with you, right? And everything. I'm going to be looking up because I want to be looking at my preview monitor to work in. And that's that. So, all right. So by now we should be able to see, hopefully the output if is exactly what I'm seeing here, and there's no more gaps or hashes or anything like that. Or somebody, if you can kind of confirm that's true or not.
No gaps.
No gaps. Okay. All right. So what we have is we have a little bit of a rough vector of GhostFace. GhostFace is kind of a popular character ever since the Scream movies back in the day, and it's becoming more and more popular in life in the adult scene and Halloween and just everything. It's becoming popular and all, and I thought that would be a cool, very simplistic model to create one, because we have to do some additional vectors to make it look like it's a face inside of a hoodie, like there is actually a hoodie around the face area and all, and then but also it would be something that is simple enough that you could make these very easily, and it could be plaques that could be painted to where they're like mounted on the wall or something for Halloween, or on the porch, or it could be the candy dispenser. So many different things, but I don't think gumballs shooting out of the ghost's mouth would be, I don't know, but so I thought it would be just a straightforward vector to work with, because number one, the vector has some issues. So it needs to be straightened out. So there's some editing involved, but it's not overly complicated to where this will take hours, and you'll get lost in the mix and all that stuff. For those of you that are screaming to be able to make more 3D models, and to be able to just have an understanding of how the components and componentry and everything works, I'm hoping that this class will do it for you. All right, so first off, we have a set of vectors. Now, this set of vectors was literally created from a bitmap image. The graphic was just by typing a search term of GhostFace on Google, GhostFace vector. Always use the search term vector when searching for things like airplane vector, horse vector, that kind of thing. And with the subject and all, it was a very simple image trace to create this vector. It's just a very simple, clean vector. There was a lot of different sources and stuff for it. Now, with this source and everything, the vectors aren't absolutely perfect. There's a little bit of roughness. Now, one that could, if one were to keep that those rough edges and things in there, and all that, could create some organicness to the edges of the model and stuff. But literally, they are kind of so small and insignificant that it's just as easy to get rid of them, because it really is not doing anything at all for the modeling part itself. It's just just some anomalies, if you will. So we're going to take a second and we're going to go through and correct that, and it's rinse and repeat on this. Basically, we have a vector sitting in front of us, and the first thing I want you to notice on the job setup, I'm actually going to go larger. So we'll make it large and in charge. We're going to go 18 by 18, and we'll scale up the vector as well. It's 3/4 inches thick. You can go as thick as you want, depending on what it is. But the important part is I'm using a model resolution of extremely high. Now, this is one of those two hidden features within the Vectric software. The two hidden features when it comes to model resolution is the extremely high and maximum. Now, if we are in a regular resolution when we set up our job and everything, if we come back into our job setup or our initial job setup, we only have three options. We have standard, high, and very high. But we can access those two hidden functions by holding down the shift key. So if I hold shift down when I click on the set job dimension and origin, that will unlock the two hidden resolutions. Now, when I'm in Aspire and I'm building a model that is going to be sold, that I'm actually going to sell that model file or something like that, then I'm going to build it in a maximum resolution, which is, 16 million points and pixels, spread throughout this 18 by 18 inch area. When I am building a model for myself or something that I'm going to be using in my projects and all, then I'm going to use an extremely high resolution, which is half of that, which is about 8 million pixels. And whatever resolution we use, it really comes down, when you're working, it comes down to your computer's processing power and stuff, to be able to handle the load. Otherwise, it'll take a long time for components to generate and things like that. The other thing is, if we're working with a large surface area and we're dealing with a small kind of model area, it's not this 8 million pixels is spread over this whole 18 by 18 inch area. If I'm only working on a 5 by 5 model and everything, my resolution is not going to be much improved and everything. But if my model were to be larger, and in this case, I do want to size it up, then I'm taking, I've got more pixel area and everything that I'm working with in the model. So it's going to improve that resolution and all. But if someone's working with a 36 by 12 inch board and they got a model, let's say that's, 4 by 4, and they're like, man, I got a high resolution, but it's still kind of pixelated and everything. It's because that model resolution is spread over the whole board, not just your model area. And resolution translates into the quality of the finished carving. So that's why it's important. We want a higher resolution because the less pixelation that is created in the 3D view, the better the carve. If there's pixelation, that pixelation will translate over to the quality of the finished cut. All right, so what we have is on our job setup, I have the extremely high resolution is what I'm working with. And it's an 18 by 18 in this case. We just sized it up, 3/4 inches thick. I am touching off on the material surface for this because I'm just building the model for right now. And what part of the model is getting carved really depends on if it was a plaque and I'm milling the entire surface away where the model's kind of raised up like it's coming out of the wood or something. That's one thing. If I was just modeling the face area and I was going to cut that profile out like an actual mask or something, that's another thing. So we could do really either or. And it could be life size. I mean, you can make it life size and cut out the eyes and the mouth or whatever the case may be, to where you could screens in it and actually make a wooden mask if you wanted to. But that's not what we're doing here. So we're just going to model this up for like a plaque or something like that. All right, so now we have our work area, and that's our job setup. And again, let me do one quick thing. Let me open up I can at least open up Google so I can see everybody's comments and questions and stuff. I got so razzled with the monitor not working properly. I forgot to open up the actual window. So let's drag this over to my window. And let's go to good old YouTube. But I hope everybody's doing well. I was away for a couple weeks. I was up in Indianapolis. I spent a week up there working, and then we were closed. We had a closure for a mission trip and stuff. I think that was 7 to 10 days we were closed for that. Doing a little bit of God's work up in the Appalachian Mountains. Let's go to the studio. What I'm doing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm opening up Windows so I can see y'all's comments, and I'll have that popped up in just a second. Go here. And there we go. So let me just say hello. All right. All right. So let's see if I missed any comments or anything. People tell me what an idiot I am or anything like that because goofball. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are all nice to me. All right. Let's take a look at now our subject, if you will, our model subject, the vectors and all. When this image was traced, it wasn't the greatest of images and all, and so there's some deficiencies and things, and it's nothing a little node editing won't correct. So I'm going to start my way outward, work outward, and work my way in. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try an overall button, which is this curve fit tool here. With the curve fit tool, I'm hoping that if I say, okay, I want this fitting type to be Bezier style curves, I'll have a tight tolerance. I can make the tolerance as tight as I want, but I'll just go 10,000ths of an inch. I'll replace the existing vectors. What I'm looking to see is that when I preview this, that for the most part or some part that it will correct that. And there's still a few issues and all. Now, if I hit Control Z to undo, to put those back, and I'll use this as my subject area here. If I change my tolerance, and again, if we change our tolerance, it could affect the overall of the design. So we want to make sure it doesn't change the face too much and everything. So usually small tolerance, 10,000ths or less, but now I'm at a 32nd. I just want to see, you can see how that cleans up those vectors and everything. And what I want is to make sure that for the most part, those lines are smoothed out. And again, we'll do Control Z to undo and then Control Y to redo. That's kind of where we are to and from and everything. And I'll be fine with that. It did not affect my, overall design. It didn't change it or anything, grossly. Now I'll go into node editing at this point. And if I wanted to further make adjustments, I could take this and kind of spin this around and clean up that area a little bit more. I could even, because there's, from point A to B, really point C here in the middle is kind of, not necessary. So I could delete that point. The only thing is when I do, I need to make sure that I come in and kind of rebuild that shape, right? So if I do that, I want to kind of come in and rebuild that. So going from point A to B and getting rid of point C, D, E, and F is fine. Just make sure that it doesn't, damage your design too much. Now, I would like on this here, I would like to kind of have a little bit of a dip right here. And I'd like to see this come out just a little bit more. And everything there. And I'm going to call that good on the outside vector. Now on the inside vectors, you can see in the eyebrow areas. Now I want this to be smooth. I want, GhostFace, the white face, if you've ever seen the actual character and all, it's a smooth, rounded, curves and all. There's really no roughness to it. It's just kind of that smooth, kind of that dripping face, if you will. And so these vectors, when the image traced, when I traced the image, it wasn't the highest of resolutions, right? And we always have things to deal with. Again, when we're dealing with low resolution, traces and stuff. Again, I'm going to come in here and preview this. I'm going to keep that 30-second in to kind of stay consistent with that. And you can see what that did. If we look at the difference between the left, which was just corrected with the fit curve to vector tool, versus the right, that smoothness and all. And so I can do the same thing here as well, and clean that up. And then the inside face. Now I'm going to be making another vector here that's going to kind of create the illusion of kind of a hoodie over the mask, like the mask actually goes back into the surface a little bit. If I were doing this with, if I was actually painting the wood and everything, all that outer area would be painted black, and the white would actually be able, you see the white kind of go over into an edge and everything kind of disappear into the back there. So I need to create another vector to create that valley area when we're modeling and stuff. So sometimes the images that you trace and stuff will not always have all of the vectors that you're going to need to make something happen, and you have to put them in there, and you have to kind of figure out, okay, I need this vector to do to be able to create this shape or that shape, whatever it may be. And sometimes it gets a little bit tricky, but for the most part, modeling and creating your components and all is pretty straightforward. So this outside area here, again, what I'm concerned with are my, let's call it the dimple areas right under the eyes, the eye sags. These areas here and here as well. When if I use the curve fit tool with such a large tolerance, I want to make sure that I don't lose anything in those areas. Now I know that it's going to straighten up these kinks and stuff like that, but I want to make sure that it doesn't go too extreme where I lose these. And if I do lose them, then I need to make sure that I go back in and, create them and everything. So let's take a look. We'll keep the same 30-second. We'll click preview. And what I'll do is starting up here at the top, focusing on these two indents here, I'm going to hit Control Z to undo and Control Y to redo and Control Z. So the only thing is on the redo, it just thinned it up a bit, which that's easy. That's an easy fix and everything. So for the most part, the dimples are good. It's really smoothed them out. If I go Control Z, undo, you can see the, kind of the stiff, rigid area here, and then that little hump. Control Y with that 30-second kind of smooths it right out, right? So I'm good with that. I do want to adjust this a little bit, and so it's not so flat here. I want to kind of give it just a little bit of roundness. And again, that would be node editing. And all I need to do is take this anchor off of this node and simply pull it out. And I want to try not to, change my anchor angle. All I want to do is pull it out and just kind of get up in there. Let's see if we can round things up a little bit. Okay. All right. No major changes and stuff like that.
I will take this and pull in just a little bit. Give me a little bit of pull there. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do with that. Nothing crazy. I want to come back. I'm going to come back to the eyes. I'll do them last, but I'm going to come into the mouth area here. And the reason why I'm doing this, because all this stuff is going to play a role in what my model looks like, the smoothness, and when I'm smoothing the edges and things. If there's any kind of, indentations or things that, just rough lines, I want to take the time and clean it up and all. I want a good subject. And if I got a lot of nodes that are just, creating an undesirable looking vector, then I want to take the time to clean that up. So here we go again. We'll go back into here. And again, I'll keep the same 30-second. And let's preview that. And what we should have is, if we do Control Z to undo, you can see kind of this wiggle area here. Control Y to redo that, smooths it out. Good. So I'll be good with that. The nose. I'm actually good with the nose. The nose has that kind of upside down heart shape, if you will, and there's not a lot of jaggedness to it. So I'm actually going to keep the nose as is. It's the eyes here that I want to come in and fix. So these straight lines and everything, I want them gone, and the little humps and nicks and stuff like that. So if I try to switch this to a Bezier curve using the same curve fit tool, same 32nd inch tolerance and all, I do not think it's going to act the way I want it to here. I do not have sharp corners checked, so if I click on preview, it will do its best to try to kind of round that off, but it's still gonna kind of leave that round line. So looking at that, let's go Control Z to undo. Kind of tells me where I was before. Looking at everything, Control Y to redo. Control Z, Control Y. All right, so Control Z again. So this one, this straight line here, Control Y, it did pull that kind of around. And I'll probably do a little bit of cleaning up that curve right here with node editing. And for the most part, it did everything all the way up to here. And so this one's going to require a little bit of node editing, a little bit of my touch, right? So we'll go ahead and we don't need to click OK. It's already like locked in. We'll come back to node editing on this. And starting up here, we'll take this and kind of just turn that a little bit. I want to kind of just kind of round that just a little bit there. Not much, but here, this is going to take just a little bit. It's going to be a matter of going from point A to point B in this case. Point C and D down here, I'm actually going to get rid of them. I know that I'm kind of landing right here above my board, like divider line right there, that center line. So when I remove these points, it's going to pull it up here, right? But I can take, let's zoom out, so I want to make sure I don't destroy my shape or anything. But I can take these anchors now and pull them back down to where I'm close to that area and everything. And then just, nice and smooth. Now, if I wanted to, GhostFace's face is not exactly the same on both sides. It's always different. And in each of the masks that you see in the stores and stuff, it always changes up depending on the expression or something. So I do not want to mirror the eye over or anything like that. I don't want to create that identicalness. I want to keep, we're a little lower here and a little higher here. That's all part of that character and all. So all I simply want to do is I'll go into the curve fit tool, preview, and we'll leave that just like it is. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So there, however many minutes it takes. Now, of course, this is explaining talking as I'm doing it. If you're just sitting there doing it, matter of seconds to get that to where one would want it with some minor changes and everything, right? So it's not overwhelming. Now that's not always the case. There are some times where you trace images and it's a low resolution image, and it was the only source image you might have been able to find that met your needs and stuff, and you trace it and it's just the lines are all over the place. And when you go to do some node editing, there's millions of nodes, and it's just it seems like it's so overwhelming. And unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. It is what it is what it is. So to relieve some of that, you want to do your best to try to find those high resolution images, because they'll trace much smoother, much better. You want to make sure that your trace settings, on your noise filter is set adequately, so that it will help eliminate some of that noise and those rough lines and stuff, during the trace itself. And all of those things will help the end result. In this, it was a fairly decent image, not the highest of resolutions. Fairly simple vectors, right? We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vectors here. And it's all curves, all Bezier curves. It wasn't arcs, no arcs or radiuses. So in the curve fit tool, I didn't choose circular arcs and I didn't choose straight lines. It was Bezier curves was the choice, because all of these curves are Bezier curves. They're like, they have that S or that flow to them, right? That smoothness to all the lines and everything. So an arc type curve, if I would have had that chosen, it would have tried to redraw those humps and everything to make them more arcy. I don't know if that's a word, but arc-like and everything. So the curve fit tool did well. Increasing the resolution did not overly distort the image. It smoothed out the vectors without overly distorting them. In that case, it's fine. But I do want to make sure that, of course, going back to another project or something, I want to make sure I bring myself back to what my default is, right? That 10,000 something, that's kind of my starting point for me. And then you either go one direction or the other, depending on what you're looking for. All right, let's go ahead and close out of that. And now we have a subject to work with. Just like when we're building a house, we start from the foundation and work our way up. So in this case, we're working our outside vectors inward, building all the vectors up and everything inward and stuff, or removing or subtracting them. All right, what I do need to do, we talked about this just a moment ago, is I do need to create an additional vector here, because I want to attempt. Now, I've never modeled these vectors. So what you're seeing and what we're going through, this is my first time working with GhostFace vectors. I've never carved them, V-carved them. I haven't worked with them or anything. So this is all, it's an image I literally grabbed a couple hours ago, brought into the software to kind of, get ready for class and all that stuff. But that's as far as it went. Brought that image in, did the trace, and that's as far as it went. So everything I'm doing is on the fly based on what I think is required or what's going to be needed for me to get the look that I want. And there's no pre-plan here. So what I want to do is I'm going to offset this line outward a small amount. That way I have two vectors that I can work between to create kind of a valley, like where the face is kind of down on the edges, and there's a hood here, that valley between the hood and the face and everything. So I think what is needed is that extra vector. So we're going to go ahead and offset outward. And of course, when I do offset outward, I'm going to lose those dimple areas. That's fine. The dimple areas are in the facial area, not in the hoodie and everything. So when it creates this offset and it draws the line out here, I'm good. All right. So as far as the offset outward, we'll look at an 1/8 of an inch and see what that does for me. And we'll click offset, no sharp corners. Select new, offset. And what you should, and let me try to get you to open up your creative mind's eye, right? What you should be able to see here with this, no models and everything here, but you should be able to look at this and kind of get the idea of what's going on. So this hoodie, right? Now, of course, the hoodie is surrounding the entire face, and that's not normally the case. The hoodie goes down to the neck area, the shoulders, and all that stuff. But in this case, it's encompassing the whole face and everything, and that's fine, and all. But what you should see by when we create that offset is you should kind of get that illusion of we have the hoodie, right? This hood area, that area there. And then there's a face inside of it, right? Just by creating that offset, we have this void, and that's kind of what it's going to be. It's going to be a void, if you will. It's not going to be all the way through, but just a shallow void. And that's what we should, go for. And again, if this was the case, this hoodie, again, somewhere right around here would go into the shoulder area and all that stuff and all, but we're not doing that. We're just making the simple face, and it's enclosed around the facial area there. All right. So that's all I need to do with that. So that's all the vectors that we need to do what we want to do. And we're going to start with the foundation. Now, even though that I'm about to build up this area between these two lines into kind of a model area, I still want to create an overall foundation, like a flat area to build off of. It's just one of the things that I do. Sometimes it's not necessary and stuff, but it just gives me that backing meat to work with. So I'm going to select just this outside vector. And in our modeling tools, it's going to be a flat plane for me. Sometimes if I was making a badge, like a sheriff's badge, sometimes the badges have a little bit of a curve to them, a slight convex. Slight convex to them. That foundation, that black, would be using the create a round shape, and it would just be a very like a 15, 20, or 30 degree shape. So it has that little mound, and then the badge is built off that, and it gives the whole thing that curved illusion. Well, in this case, I want to create a flat surface. I want to kind of create a flat surface. And the surface height, I'm just going to go 1/4 of an inch. And you have to remember, all these components and models that are going to get built, they're, in my case, right now, they're being built in a 3/4 inch board. So if I have a 1/4 inch base, that means I only have a 1/2 inch left of creating, my other parts. So if you're working with a model that has a lot of build to it, to build up in the trees and the mountains in the background and the lake and the waters and the deer and the forest and the birds in the sky and all that stuff, right? Every one of those parts, the deer, the trees behind the deer's in front of, the log cabin in the woods and the mountains in the back range, all of those things have a height to them. All of those models have a height to them, and all those heights added up have to be, they have to fit within the thickness of your material, right? So I have 3/4 of an inch that I'm working with in this case. So I'm using 1/4 of an inch of it for the backer board. And I might decide I can always go back and reduce it down to 3/16 or an 1/8, after I start getting into it. But for right now, I'm going to start with 1/4. So this is just going to be my base. So we'll come in here and wait for things to catch up. And base. Now, notice I didn't click apply or anything, but it already built the component. You see that gray area that filled in over here. It's kind of, when you start filling in things at all, Vectric is assuming that you're going to click apply. So it's like already jumping on it and building it. If I go into the 3D view, I haven't hit apply yet, but lo and behold, we have a 1/4 inch base there. So it's kind of jumps the gun a little, and I'm okay with that. But I sat there and I was trying to write the word base in here, but it wouldn't let me because it was processing building that base area but I hadn't clicked apply. I haven't applied my settings yet. So I don't know what's up with that. All right, so base, we'll go ahead and click apply on that. And what we should see, we can close this tool, is in the component area, level 1, just that's our default level in the component. Components are the parts of a composite model. So your finished model, your finished piece, that's a composite model. And the parts that make up the model, such as the base, the hoodie, the facial area, the eye sockets, the mouth socket, all that stuff, those are components. So we're in the component tree, and we're building all of these little parts, and all these little parts, when they're together, they make the composite model, 3D model, and everything. All right, so we have our base here. And again, if we tilt, we have kind of that 1/4 inch flat area there. That's it. All right, now with this, I can, in the 3D view in version 12, if I saw the need to or anything, I could come in and click on the parts. I can get my tools and everything right here in the 3D view without having to work with, open this up and open them up properties. Everything is right here. I can open up my properties from here in the 3D view. If I had to do any tilting or fading or combining changes, I can change my on the fly here. I'm at a 1/4 inch base, but if I hold down my left mouse button over this icon, I can increase that base, or I could decrease that base on the fly, right? I could kind of, whatever meets my need. And also I can type in that box. If I wanted to type in a hard number, I can just type in there and hit enter and make that change as well too. So the 3D view in version 12 is getting a little bit more, I don't know if the word's dynamic is or if the word dynamic is, but dynamic modeling, I don't know if that's the thing, but it's more interactive now in being able to see the vectors from our 2D view in that 3D view. And then being able actually to select them. We can actually select the vectors, and we can build our shapes and everything all in the 3D view. I don't have to keep switching back and forth if I didn't want to. We used to have our split view here as well. All kinds of new cool stuff happening in version 12. All right. So now let's start kind of with the face area, and then I'll deal with the dip that kind of recess. I'll decide if I want a little bit bigger valley here or what, but let's start here. And this is going to be a curved shape. I want this to have not a big curve, but I want it to have a curve to it. So in the design area, we are going to draw a curved profile. Give me one quick second. I keep getting interrupted, and I left my phone across the way. Okay. All right. Just one of you guys let me know that you not going to have to watch it when you get home. No problem. I appreciate you letting me know that. All right. We're going to use the create a rounded shape component tool. That's going to be our next one. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now joining and everything, I'm making eye contact with you. I know you're there. I know you're right there, and we're making eye contact. That creates a little bit of a connection with us and all. But unfortunately, I have to look at my output window, output monitor, which is up here, to see what I'm working on, because I screwed up on my cabling and I connected the wrong monitors. I split the wrong monitors and couldn't get it done in time. Fixed. All right, so here now, think of a dome, like an actual full-on half circle, right? 90 degrees is a perfect half sphere. from its base to whatever height it may be, depending on the size of the vector that's being created. It's a perfect 90 dome, a half a circle, half sphere. Beyond that, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, that angle for the dome, instead of that nice round, it might be slightly different angle, coming to that round and curved top. So whatever angle profile here, that's going to determine how big the curve is, right? In this case, I just want a small curve, not a large one. And so I think I'm going to go with a 40-degree curve. And the no limit, I'm not going to flatten it off. I don't want it flat. I want it the full curve and everything. So it's going to be 100%. If I wanted to kind of curve up and then flatten across at a certain percentage, like come up, start making that dome, that sphere or whatever angle it is. And then when you get to a certain percentage, 40%, 6%, flatten off at the top. That's what this box is, the limit. So we're limiting it. And I'm not doing any limit, so no limit there. Scale, I just want it to scale to 100% of what it naturally would scale to based on my 40% choice, right? If I wanted to, I could limit that 50, like where it goes halfway as high and everything. But I'll just use my 40% choice there. So I chose 40%, and I'm just going to leave everything at 100 here. Let it do what it's naturally going to do, and then we can make adjustments accordingly. No base height. So I want this model to not have any straight wood underneath before it creates the shape. I want it to from its surface to just create the shape, so no straight edge, I want it to be just a nice curve from that surface. So no base height. And this will be the face. And again, it's kind of creating that component. I haven't even hit apply yet. But we're going to go ahead, and this is going to be our face perimeter. And we'll click apply now. Okay. All right, so now looking at if we close this tool, which I can go back in, or I can use the tools in the 3D view here as well. But if I kind of tilt this and I come into the component tree, if I deselect that, you can see that it will change and everything. Now, if I wanted to, on these components that I'm building, when I'm on their properties, when I'm in here, I could actually go into the properties and I could change their colors or different things and stuff. Like if I wanted to make this outer perimeter a solid color, and I wanted to, let's say, black, I could, while I'm making the models and everything, I could do that, right? I could change that. And then on the next model perimeter base, if I wanted to come into its properties and I wanted to come in and, let's say, I don't want to keep it the same as the parent, the one below it, right? Let's say I wanted to come in here and I wanted to change this to a different color. Then I could come in and I could start to, build this with the colors, and things like that. Or it could be pine or oak, and in your previews and everything, it could be whatever you want. Now, so we can see the shapes clearly and everything like that, black is not a good choice for this because you can't see the detail of what's happening and everything. So I'm going to just change that back to, we'll go back to that. So that way we can at least see, you know, what we're doing and all. And as far as the facial area, we'll change that one as well too. And then we'll separate the colors, and we'll add colors and stuff at the very end to see how we did on our results and stuff. But we'll just kind of keep it the wood right now. Okay. Give me just a second here. I'm currently teaching a class. The latest version is August 27th to 24. My class ends around 10. I can get with you then, or we'll have to set another time. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So now we have basically what we have is we have this curved part of the component. Let me turn off the vector so it doesn't look like an illusion there. So now we have this kind of curved part of the face. And what I want eventually is right now the edge of the face starts from this surface here. And we're going to eventually create that little valley between those two vectors. So it looks like that edge of that face is kind of going down inside the hoodie, right? And everything. So we'll create that part in just a moment. But for right now, it is just blending from the hoodie surface up to that round curve. And 40% isn't bad right now. It looks good, but it really doesn't look like anything until we actually start building the parts. And now the GhostFace parts are pretty straightforward. The eyelashes are brought out, but the eye sockets, the nose, and the mouth are in. So they're subtracted instead of added to the model. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, this face perimeter that I just created is added. The combined mode is an add. That means that it's being added to the model that's below it in our component tree here, the base. And so it's sitting on top of it, and it's taking on the shape of whatever's underneath. And what I mean by that is right now, the base is flat. So the back of this face perimeter model component, not model, it's component, is flat. The back of it is flat. There's no hump or anything. So it's nice and smooth. Now, if I were to have this, let's say this nose right here, let's say that I built this up into a shape, and I'll just go a full 90 degrees on it and create that shape for that nose, which this is just for example purposes only. Now, let's say that in my component tree that I move that nose, and let's kind of look here. The nose is sitting on top of that face perimeter, and it's kind of taking on the shape. But if I were to move it below the face perimeter, then what's going to happen is in my face perimeter, let's kind of go here. Believe it or not, if we click on this, you'll see it's green. And green means that the model is hidden by the model that's above it. So this is not the model, even though it looks like it's still the nose sitting on top, right? It's actually underneath, and it's kind of poking through like a pimple, right? Dr. Pimple Popper would love her. But if I were to come in here and turn the vector on, and let's say that I change that shape, which will undo all this stuff. And let's come back in here. And apply that. close. Go back to the component tree. Again, we'll move it down below the surface there. And we'll turn off this first one. That shape is underneath here. And let me go to the properties so you can see. And as I build it up, all I'm doing is I'm pushing up that mask or that facial mask that it's on top of it, right? I'm just kind of pushing it up, and it's pulling up that skin and everything. And that's what we don't want. So we want to build from the foundation up, and we're adding and subtracting to what's below it. So I don't want to confuse you on that. Let me just delete. Let's go to edit, undo. Control Z is a good keyboard shortcut for that. And I'm simply just undoing the changes there. All right, and then we'll put our part. Let's come in here. Wait for it. And let's delete that. All right, because the face is actually supposed to, the facial area, the nose actually gets sunken in. It's not poking out. So with that, it's going to be a subtract. So let's go back to our design area there. And give me just a quick second. I want to turn down the lighting. I don't know how much that's going to affect things, but see if I can turn that down. One, because I'm staring right at the light when I'm looking up there, and number two, I was all washed out. Okay, so with this, we are going to create a, it could be a flat shape in this case on the nose, or it could be a curved shape. I'm actually going to create a curved shape and everything. No, actually, I'm going to create a flat shape on this one. I'll do a curved shape on these because I want kind of that bowl effect. But the nose, I think I'm going to have it drop straight down. So with this, it will be, since it's a flat shape, there's no curve or anything to it. It's just going to be like what's called base height. I'm going to go, if you recall this facial mask, it was rounded, right? So I've got a good amount of wood to deal with that I can work with, but I'll just go 3/16, and I want it to be a subtract. Okay, now I'm going to turn off the vectors here because if you look at, because I'm in a tilted view, the vectors don't line up with the model on the 3D view, and it could throw some people off and all that stuff. When I'm here, you know, the vectors line up, but when I'm tilted and all, the vectors are kind of way over here, right? So the vectors don't tilt with the material and everything. So I don't want to throw people off, and, you know, when they're like, why is the nose over here when it should be over there? And what I want to look at is in this, let's go ahead and click close in our component. I forgot to name it, so let's rename that to nose cavity, really, if you're being anatomically correct. All right, so let's turn the vectors off so that way it's not, and so there's no shape to this, it's just straight back, right? And again, it looks odd and all because there's no context to it. You know, the eyes and all that stuff aren't around it, so we just look like we have kind of like just kind of divot in there and everything. All right, and so we're working our way through the eye sockets. I'm going to go different in depths with them just because, you know, it's not in the scheme of things. It's really not going to make a difference because it's going to get painted black, you know, most likely, or they'll get cut out altogether, right? But if you were painting it and all, it'd be painted black, like that hollow look, if it was a plaque. And when it's painted black, you can't tell that one eye is deeper than the other. Unless you had a tape measure in there, kind of nail in the cavities. It is not going to do anything different other than the sidewalls. So because I'm going to create this as a curved shape, my deeper shape will have a different sidewall versus the shallower shape. So that curvature going into the flat bottom, it's going to be different in the shallower eye than it is the deeper eye. And that's going to be the only observable difference that you're going to see. And so I'm going to create those separate. So in our design, it is going to be a curved shape. On this, I'm going to go with fairly, I don't want to go too domey. I want it to have somewhat of a flatness on the bottom of the eye socket, but there's going to be that limit area, right? I don't want it flat at the bottom. I want it to have a curve at the bottom, but it's going to be kind of sunken in. So it's not the limit that I'm going to change, but it's going to be the base height that I'll end up changing in a minute. But first, I got to get my curve. And I think I'm going to go with 60 or 75, possibly. We'll go with 60. And first, I'm just going to subtract it so we can see the cavity. And then I'll show you, I'll create the base height, and what you'll see is it'll sink more in there and everything. So right now, this is going straight from this surface. It's just coming down and in here at that 60-degree kind of dome area. But if I add base to it, then that means it's going to be straight coming down, and then it'll start curving. So what you'll see is on these inside walls right here, if I add base height, let's go with 1/8 of an inch, you'll see that drops down into the eye cavity, and then it curves. Now, 1/8 of an inch for this model, the size it is too much, too big, too deep, and everything. So I'm going to go on that base. It'll either be a 16th or a 32nd. What I want is, let's go with a 32nd. I just want, think of like if it was a skull, the bone of the skull, then the deep cavity, right? So you have the thickness of the bone of the skull, if you will. So what I want to see is, I do want to see those edges, because they're going to get smoothed out when we add a smoothing filter to it and everything. But I want to see like that bone thickness before it goes into the black beyond, right? And so let's, as an example, on that, let's go to the component tree here and just click off here. I want to see that kind of I want to see that variation here where it kind of drops straight back. That kind of gives me the illusion of that bone of the skull, the thickness of the skull bone. And then it comes into this socket area, which is going to be a void. It'll be black, right? So it'll be void and everything. So this area here might be painted white to give that indented look or feel. And then the black is the curved, smooth part in the background to create that hollowness, if you will, and everything. And then all these edges, these sharp edges, they'll be with the smoothing filter that we do at the end, they'll be rounded over, and it'll be that nice rounded over skull feature you have and everything with that. So a 32nd is going to be good, and everything for that looks fine. All right, now over here on that socket, it's going to be the same 32nd. So it's going to have, I should have not done that. That's fine. Let's see if it'll let me. I should have started at the top. It's going to, I went 60 before. I'm now going to go, I want to, 60 is kind of a shallower. I want to go a little bit deeper. So I'm going to go 85. And then I'm still going to create that 32nd inch base height. 0.03125. Apply. Got to go in and name my components. Wait for it. Okay, so I'm going to call this my right eye. Right eye. And apply that again. So again, when it's finished generating, it'll let me move. And I'm going to hit save. I want to hit save. I don't want anything crashing. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead for a second and hit save. Now, that straight edge, that straight meat, whether if I was adding the meat, that meat would be building up, right? It would be the base, built up. When I'm subtracting, it's how far it's the base it's dropping down before it starts creating the shape. So you have shape height. The shape height is starting at since it's a subtracted, starting at the bottom of the base, right? The base is that 32nd. That's that little straight area that you see there in the cavity. And then from that 32nd, the shape contour begins, right? And so that base is just kind of a straight drop, and then it rounds off and everything. So that's what we're doing. All right, so let's kind of get back up. Let's close this. I'm going to come into my component tree and take this and rename it to my left eye. Okay. I'm still going to be adding a little bit of shape to the hoodie. The base is still flat, right? I haven't even created the hoodie, a little bit of contour and shape to that. But I also still have to create the valley and all, so we'll do that last. So the next shape that we're going to be dealing with are the eyebrows. And now these are going to be outward and everything. So there'll be an add. We're adding them to that face perimeter that they're sitting on top of. So we'll do both of them. Now I'll go one a little higher than the other. So let's just select one. All right. So again, it's going to be a curved profile because it's going to have roundness to it. And it is just smooth. There's no anything. Now, just to say this, now this is just, all this is going to do is this is just going to create a little hump there. But now if I wanted to go in and sculpt under the eyebrow, like right here, to kind of create that dip where, we have the eye and then it kind of dips into the eyebrow and things like that, that's sculpting. So it's like the molding of the clay. I don't really necessarily need to create any vectors for that. But after all the shapes are created, then I would go into the sculpting brush and I would go in and sculpt and press that down a little bit and, add that kind of those curves and contours and stuff and, do any smoothing that I needed to do. That's sculpting. Right now, we're just building shapes. We're just piling shapes on top of shapes, and they're really all individualized right now. There's nothing really blending them together and all. Our overall smoothness will blend all the edges and all, but sculpting is like going in there with chisels and you're sculpting the clay. So we'll see if we need to build up any like depression where the eyes look like they're sunk in a little bit and we need to build up a little bit of material there. We'll see what we need to do with that. Sometimes we could create an additional vector that would build that up and then work with that. But in this case, we don't need to. All right, so let's go in here. This one I'm going a full on, not full 90, but really close. I want it to be really domey versus flat. So I'll go 90, 85, 90, somewhere around there. 100%, 100%. Add. This will be my. Let it create the shape. There we go. This will be the left brow. And then this one will also be 90. It'll be my right brow. Now, again, let's click apply on that. Right now, all we have are these, mounds sitting on there, right? There's no real like transition or anything. We might want to build up some of the material around here to where this brow is sitting on. Might want to sink it in. All that's going to be that would be all sculpting. We might, in some cases, the brow might want to be larger and things. I mean, if we were to look at, let's go really quickly, GhostFace mask images. Give me just a second. Save image as. There we go. All right, let me drag that over onto the screen. And so if we look at, a mask, it's kind of like it's melting, right? The eyes and everything. There's really no brow on the ghost mask and everything. What we are with those brows and everything, let me show you another one. What we're, the brows and all, what we're seeing is, those kind of humps, right? It's just that face. So that sculpting, we're putting material there because we're going to be blending that material in. We're kind of building that material up there so that when we actually come in with the sculpting tool and we start kind of sculpting this and building that, it's blending and it gives us some material to work with. And so when we're looking at that face and everything, it's just kind of got, it's that kind of that puffiness around and in the eyebrow area and stuff. And again, that's all sculpting, and we can't do undercuts, right? So we won't have, it's not going to be hanging off the side of the face with nothing underneath. It's all going to be coming from that foundation and everything, but we can still kind of, work that. So that's what, and all we're doing here, we're not creating eyebrows. We're, in a sense, it is a brow, but we're adding material here because when we sculpt, we're going to be taking that material and using the smudge brush. We're going to be using the remove tool and add tool to kind of build up to that or pull from it kind of thing and everything. So that's, the model and everything that we're working with, again, it's not the we're just tracing from a 2D picture, trying to build this 3D. So you might not have the vectors you need or everything, but you do, we just have the reference to work off of. All right, so that's that. Now the final shape, before we get into the final three shapes, is going to be the mouth, the valley, and the, building up the hoodie around it all. So let's go with the mouth. This is just going to be a same thing. It's going to be a subtracted round shape. I want that round bottom area there. On this one, I'm going to actually go real low. I don't want it to be, I don't want it to be a deep round. I want it to be kind of more flat. So it's going to be like a 35. And it's going to be a subtract. And it's going to be mouth. And again, on the base height, got to create that differential, like the inside of the jaw and all that stuff. So it might be more than a 32nd. It could be, however day we want it to drop down and stuff. So let's click apply, see where we're at. But the mouth area, the bottom area, is a 30-degree angle because we want it kind of flat, not flat, but where it's not too roundy or deep and everything. So let's come in here and that'll be good. Oh, did it save the word mouth? It did. Okay, good. All right, now let's do the hoodie. So both of these vectors, this vector and this vector, gets used to create this initial shape. And this one is going to be, it is going to be a curved profile shape. And it's going to be kind of wide, because the vector is wide between there and everything. A hoodie's not that fluffy or fat, but also at the same time, it gives you more room to work with your smoothing if you're, pulling stuff back and all. So this one is going to be kind of a, I really want to because the hood is kind of flat. I want to not use the rounded profile. I actually want to use the pyramid profile. I want it to come to kind of a point because this hem of the hoodie, is kind of edge, but I don't want to, I don't want it triangularly, angly. So let's go with a very narrow angle. We'll go 25 degrees. And instead of coming to a point, I want it to flatten off a little bit where the hem is. So we'll go 30 is too narrow. I need it bigger number. 25 is not the right number, but I want to go 85%. So what that means is I want it to flatten out right at the edge, the 85%. And that's too steep of an angle. I need a sharper angle. And it's probably not going to get too much sharper because of the fact of the width of the lines that it's milling. Let's go opposite of that, 75, and click apply. What that should do is it should push it out more further, more pointing. Yeah. 75 might be a little bit extreme. Okay, let's try. It's heading in the right direction of what I want, but it's not. Let's go 60. Let's try 60. The 85 is not, it's limiting it, but not like I would like. So let's click apply on 60. Now remember, now total height, right, plays a role. Now I'm at 1 3/4. Remember, my board is only 3/4 of an inch, right? So I'm going to have to I'll have to shrink that whole thing down once I get the kind of look that I want. But on the edge here, I want the edge to be a little bit more flat. See, it's coming here and it is flattening off in this large area, but it's not really doing it here because it's not getting to its full height because the width of the vectors are narrower. So 85 is not taking, 85% is almost, 100% of that point. But these are lower than that maximum depth. So they're not flattening out at all on the edges. They're just coming to that point. So I have to reduce this number even more to get a little bit of a flat edge on these lower parts. So let's go 55 and click apply. And what we should see is this flat edge should start to kind of come around a little bit more there. And 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 it's all because of the vectors, very narrow, it creates a very shallow height. So when I say limit it to 85%, it's only limiting the maximum, the highest point, but it's not doing anything with this down here. So that might be up to me to sculpt that, to flatten it with the sculpting tool and everything. Because I'll have to reduce this whole dang down anyway. But I'd like to try to get a little bit of that sharp edge off. So let's go, instead of 55, let's go 40. I would love to have seen a little bit more, been able to get a little bit more height out of that without being flattened so quickly there. Let's click apply and see what 40 gets me. There we go. That red on the front makes me look thinking like the Iron Man mask, like not making Iron Man there. The red on the gold or the red on the maple there. All right, so if I go any more, I'm flattening this out now to an extreme. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that back up and I'll sculpt it. I'll try to flatten it down with the sculpting. So I'm going to bring this up because I want it a little bit thinner here, a little bit more of a point here. So I am going to bring that back up. I think I'll go back to the 60. I think I was at 55, but we'll go 60 and hit apply. Okay. And we'll call this the hoodie. Now, on the hoodie, let's close that. On the hoodie. Now, here I have overall height, shape height, and base height. These three boxes, right? Now, if I change my shape height and everything, it's kind of the, when I pull that down, it's, reducing that shape, or if I build it up and everything, that's kind of dealing with that. And my overall height, wait for it. My overall height is, when I'm pulling that down, it kind of it changes the angle to the sidewall angles. You know, it kind of like a drawbridge, you know, raising, right? It's raising that angle, that overall height. So the higher I go, the narrower that angle gets, the lower I go, the wider it gets, right? So, and again, we're just, this is all going to get smoothed out and everything. And all we're just trying to create this illusion of it, of this hoodie kind of around the face. All right. I think that's where I'm going to leave that. Now, let's come up into kind of a top view here. All right. So now we have this. So now I've got some, you know, tight edges. This will all get smoothed and kind of, we'll bring this down, flatten this out. We'll smooth this a little bit here on these edges and all. It would have been cool to have been able to kind of, you know, like this might be a thing where another vector is drawn here to kind of create another shape right here to give that more roundness, but I'll just do it with the smoothing tool. I'll blend all that in and build some material up there. The white dot that you see in the eye right there, that white dot is the model coming down to the base. That base is underneath, and it's right at that base and all. So that's why you see that tone difference and everything there. And all. So, all right. So now we have this. I need to create that valley still. You can see right now we still have that kind of that flat area here where it looks like it's kind of puffed up, right? And so this area in between here, we're going to select this vector. And we're going to select this vector. And this one is going to, when we create the shape, it's either going to be a flat shape if you want it to just go flat back, or it's going to be a rounded shape if you want it to kind of just kind of like, you know, be round and smooth, you know, so you can kind of sand into it or whatever. I'll just do it as a rounded shape. I'm going to go full 90. And it's going to be a subtract. And what I might have wanted to do, yeah, no, that'll work. 90 gave me a depth of 0.08. That's fine. This, I'll just call it the valley. I don't know. Valley, whatever. And I can change and adjust the height on that. But when I smooth, it's going to kind of blend all that in. All right. So that's that. Let's click off into close. Let's go to the component tree and click off here so we can see. And what we're just looking at is, you know, kind of we'll get that to where it kind of just blends into there, where it looks like it's going around. And now, again, it all looks the same with all the, you know, the coloring and all. We can see that mask and all, but let's take just a quick second and let's give it some color so you can kind of get an idea of what we got going on here. So this would be black. This would be white. The wait for it to catch up. I got to remember to hit save again too. Okay, this will be black. The nose, right eye will be black. Same thing with the left eye. Same thing with the nose. And on the nose, there's a little bit of a bridge that gets built out there too when we're sculpting. So we're going to see that next. This is a solid color. Now the brow is not, I don't know where the brow got its color from, but it's going to be the same as the parent. It's going to be white. So the parent is what's underneath it and everything. All right. And the last but not least, the left eye. Left eye. There we go. That's going to be black. Okay. So now when we're looking at this and everything, this valley area here, it'd be a little bit darker and all. I'm kind of keeping it that natural color and all to kind of just create that differential, like kind of that space in between. But, you know, so we basically, if we were painting this or something, that's kind of like, you know, how we would color it in this particular instance with this mask and everything. But we're still a little bit more to do. We're going to do just a little bit more. We'll do a little bit of sculpting and see how my sculpting skills are. I'm not the greatest at sculpting, but we'll see what we can do with these brows to kind of blend them in like they're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be so defined as an eyebrow there. We'll see if we can build that material up and get it to look right, and see if we can adjust the bridge of the nose a little. And then we'll call this a day. But this is kind of what we're, you know, when we're modeling and sculpting and stuff, this is what we've got. So let's take a look real quick. Let's take 2 seconds and see what questions we might have. No questions. So did I put everybody to sleep, or is everybody awake? Right. Ron Ferrier says, I'm right on top of my laptop. Maybe need to back off. I don't know. We'll check settings out as well. Let's see. Ron, we're having a tough time hearing you. Oh, that's back when Ron and all was talking and all that stuff. So no questions, no comments, no nothing. Okay. Well, let me know what you think so far. Give me a thumbs up if you've learned anything in this little bit of time here. This 2 hours that we've been, hour and 45 minutes. And then while we do that, we're going to come in and we're going to sculpt. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. This is very important. My original models, on any model that I ever do, they stay individual components. On my original components here in the componentry, they stay my original. They don't get baked together. They don't get blended or any of that stuff and everything. They stay individualized. But what I do is I do create a new level. And in that level, I create a copy, a component of the visible model. So basically it's whatever's visible, whatever's showing this mask as it is right now. When I create a copy of that, or, you know, a component from that visible model, it's going to build a model just like this. You'll see it get bigger and everything. And then in the component tree, you'll see the copy of the visible model. So now that means that my originals I can turn off, and they're there in case I need to go back and adjust the nose, the eye, the mouth, the hoodie, the this, the that. You know, I can go back and I can remove that, you know, that copy. I can go back and fix what I need to fix. and then recreate that copy. Because if I bake this, it's like baking a cake. You take your flour, your eggs, your water, your oil, whatever you use. When it goes in that oven and you bake that cake, when you pull out that cake, you're not going to undo that cake and turn it back to flour, eggs, oil, water, butter, whatever, right? It's baked. It's one and everything. We'll go from there. Brooks, welcome. Did you decide to rejoin us? I hope so. It's awesome. That would be cool if you did. Yeah. But the baking, there's a time and a place for it and everything. But when it comes to the models and all, I want to be able to step back, edit my individual components anytime that I please.
Hi.
I do not. Oops, hold on a second. We got could one of you guys mute your mic that's on stage with me? I'd have to get up to the other computer to do that. I would have to, but if I bake my model, it's done. There's no stepping back. I can't back up and make changes on the individual components. So I highly recommend that you create a copy of your visible model. This way I can go in there and I can sculpt this copy. I can, change it and alter it and all, and it's not affecting my originals. My originals are still intact in case I need to step back, right? All right, so that's enough about that, harping on the same subject. All right, let's go into the full-on 3D view. And when it comes to the sculpting, okay, we go into here and we'll click on the little sculpting tool, sculpt the visible model, right? Also helps that it's selected. Now, when we're sculpting, okay, and let me hit the close button on this. When we're sculpting and stuff, you have your diameter of your brush size, right? So you have your brush size. You have your strength. So whatever you're doing, smoothing, smudging, adding material, subtracting material, or undo. I love the undo brush when you screw up, right? The strength of those tools, of the smoothing, of the smudging, of the adding or subtracting, that's controlled by this strength slider. And then the smoothness, when you are working with the smoothness, or when you're building up the material, the smoothness of that material is, and also it's the smoothing tool, and the smudging and everything. When you smudge and shove one material to another, that's controlled by here. Now, preserving the transparency means that if there is no model somewhere, and if I were to smudge this outward, that I'm preserving the transparency. It won't put material out there. If I had that turned off, then it would add more model to it. So if I was pushing the material out, smudging it out, then it would add that material to wherever my brush is going outside of that model, or, outside the component where there's, transparency, where there's nothing, right? So even though there's a backer right here, visually in the software, there's nothing there. The model is just this facial area, right? So we want to kind of preserve that transparency. I mean, we built the model as we built it. We don't want to add anything to it that's artificial. Now, show the visible model. This is a new feature and everything. Basically, if we are to oh gosh, I actually have to go to my I got to go to the reference on that one. Let's go down to show. right here. All right, show full model. This option makes any surrounding component which may be included in the full composite model. It makes it also available in the 3D view while you're sculpting. Okay. Now, the sculpting tools are still only applying to the selected component. All right. So what that's saying is if I had, a more model or background model and everything, I'm only, when I came in here, if I had all of my parts individualized and I just selected the right eye, right? And I came in and I opened up the sculpting tool just to sculpt that right eye. If I have the show full model, it's still going to show the whole face, right? But it's the sculpting tools are only affecting that right eye, and everything, and all. So that's what that means. Now, in my case, I have a complete copy of all my individual components into a visible, a new visible model, right? A new copy here. So that option doesn't apply in my case because there's only one selected component, the copy that I'm working on. And I'm only sculpting that copy because I only want to change. I don't want to change my originals in case I don't like what I sculpted and did. So let's go back to the sculpting tool. But I had to reference what that meant, and that's what I love about the Vectric software is that little question mark. Get help on this takes you right to that information. So this, whether it's checked or not, doesn't apply to me in my case. All right, the mode, we're going to do just normal mode. And so we'll start off with the smudging and to see that. So on my diameter and everything, let's kind of get up close and personal here. I want the diameter to be, slightly smaller in size. Now, if I hold down my shift key, I can change my strength. If I'm not holding the shift key, I'm just kind of zooming in and out with the roller wheel on my mouse, the roller wheel zooming in and out. But when I hold the shift key, that's adjusting the strength there. And if I hold the control key, that's changing the diameter. And I want to say that the smoothness is it shift and control? No. Control is just diameter, shift is strength, smoothness is it's not the alternate key. Dadgummit. Hold on a second. Maybe smoothness. I don't know. There's probably a tool. Once again, give me just a second, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go in and see here. Keyboard shortcuts. Sculpting on the keyboard shortcuts, the zooming in and out is done by holding the alternate key. In my case, not. But yes, while you move your mouse. So the alternate key when you're moving your mouse, I was using the roller wheel. Let's see. Panning is achieved when you're holding the middle mouse button. Yep. Now, one sculpting tool at a time can be selected by clicking the options from the button from the form of using the keyboard shortcut numbers 1 through 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the smooth, sculpt, add material, subtract material, undo brush. Now, what I'm referring to is on my strengths. Come down to the strengths here. Shift key. The diameter is the control key, but for some reason it doesn't say that. And smoothness, this slider controls the smoothness, a higher or lower. It doesn't give me a keyboard shortcut. Pressing 0 on the transparency will toggle that on and off. So yeah, there's no keyboard shortcut for that, but they're also at the same time they don't show the control key being that, so that's probably just a kind of a default. All right, so anyway, so just the shift key is kind of what they're highlighting. But anyway, I'm going to control key, and I'm going to change my diameter. Now, when we're smudging, that means we're pulling or pushing material around. Now, if I come over here in this socket, and I'm in my smudge tool, and my strength is, we'll just kind of go 40. Smoothness, we'll leave it 21. If I pull in the eye socket and I'm pushing this way, you can see I'm smudging that. I'm pulling it in that direction. That's not what we want. I don't want to take my eye socket and I don't want to push that negative material into my eye because I need to build that material up. That's not the direction I want to go. But if I come into the add tool and I'm smudging this way, I'm kind of pulling that material and, building around. But also at the same time, I got to be careful because when I'm smudging, I mean, it's pulling everything and it's kind of a negative effect. You can see the smudging, even in the little detail there, it's like creating that, you're pushing that mound over, right? Now, the undo brush is a wonderful brush. You can come in and whatever you roll over, it'll undo what you did, right? So the undo brush is a pretty cool tool and everything. So what I need to do in everything is, it's not really the smudge that I need to do here, the smudging and all, it's kind of the building. I need to kind of build up that material between these areas and stuff. And I could have done that with my modeling tools and drawing the vectors and creating those and stuff. But we can also do it in here. Now I'm going to make the diameter larger because I want to try to cover this area right here. And I'd like to not be really in the eye socket when I do that. So I just kind of want to be in this area. Now, your strength and all, I mean, I'm not a great sculptor, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you that right off the bat. It takes me a little bit to kind of get things how I want and everything. But when I'm, how fast you move your mouse and going back, when you go back and forth and over things, it's just mounding on top of, material on top of material, right? And so when I'm building that material in and everything, and like I said, I'm not the greatest sculptor in the world, but if I'm building that material up, trying to create that, that puffiness around the eyes and things, once I get some material there and stuff, and I'm building up kind of the mound under the brow now. And again, that back and forth motion, every time I cross over it, I'm adding more and more material. Now you got to be careful because let me turn this to the side and let me show you here, you're building material, you're adding material, and all that comes down into your 3/4 inch thickness of your material and all that stuff. So you really got to kind of, be mindful of what you're doing. Now I'm rough because I'm not, like I said, I'm not the greatest sculptor in the world, but even though I built this up and it's really rough and all, I can remove material, or I have a smoothing brush, or I have a smudge brush. Like on the smudge brush, this is an ideal situation where I can take, and let me hold down the control key and reduce that diameter. I can take material that I've added, a little bit too much here, and I can kind of smudge it over and spread the wealth, right? I can kind of get it to smudge over, and I can go the other direction with it and that kind of thing, right? If I wanted to, the smudge brush. But the smoothing brush, my best friend, I'm actually going to turn the strength up a lot. And the smoothness, I'll kind of increase that as well too. And I'll increase the diameter. I'm going to hold the control key and roll my mouse wheel up. But here, as I smooth this out, as I come over, it'll start to kind of to the most of its ability. I mean, I still got to add a little bit more material there, but if I'm really wavy like I am right here, it's not going to flatten it out by any means, but it could, take some of that roughness that I created and kind of blend this in. And I still need to, either smudge this material, and basically I'm kind of, what I'm trying to do now is take those high peaks and push them over to the low. But the problem with that is now, depending on my strength, you see what I just did there. I created a valley right there in the eyebrow, right? And there's no undo. There's no real undo. If I discard, it discards everything, right? If I use the undo brush, it takes it right back to the original. There's no kind of real step back. Let's see here. Undo brush, hold the shift key down to erase. To erase. Whoa, we don't want to do that. Okay, so that's what they mean by erase. So if you're erasing material, that's what that is. So let's undo that bad boy. I wonder if I have an edit, undo, erase. No. All right, so control key, let's make this diameter bigger, and let's, ooh, all right, that's important. There's no undoing an erase. See, I can undo all that, right? But when that material is gone, it's erased. So that's a, all right, so let's discard those. Yes, discard that. Okay, so shift key erase, shift key in the undo brush is erase. It erases the material. We don't want to do that. All right, let's go back really quickly. Let's add a little bit of material. This time I'm going to try to be a little bit smoother with my movements. It's kind of difficult with a mouse and a small mouse pad. I have a tablet and a pen for stuff like this, but so I'm just going to slowly move. Try to keep the same consistency in my movement. And at this point, again, because I'm such a bad sculptor, this for me would be a thing where I would probably redraw the vector around the eyes and build that up as a shape, and then come in and do smoothing and stuff. Let's see how well let's turn the strength up. Again, I'm not the greatest sculptor in the world, but blend that. I'm going to add a little bit of material right here. Now I'm holding down the left mouse button for a small movement, letting it go. Holding it down, letting it go. And what I'm trying to do is build up the material right there, just in that area, kind of where my cursor is. All right, and then back to the smooth tool. And again, you got to be able to see and kind of get to the big picture of what you're doing. I'm not the best sculptor in the world. You can see that. So let's discard those changes. I'm not the best sculptor in the world, ladies and gentlemen. This would take me a few hours to kind of get it how I want, but I do want to show you how I would handle this in that case. If I wanted to get more build up on those eye areas and everything, before sculpting, I would go in and I would build that material up with a shape, right? So how I would handle that, and I'll just do the left eye, is basically kind of create the vector that kind of, fills in the void here, if you will. So this, I'll just do the left side right now. These vectors would get copied to another layer. We'll just call this my additional vectors. I would come in and I would turn off everything but that layer, make it sure it's active. And what I'm going to do is from these 3 vectors, I'm going to create the vector for this valley right here. And I'll probably go into node editing there, cut the vector right here, and cut the vector right here. This outside line is insignificant for what, for the need that I want. And this curve upward is insignificant for what I want. So I would probably actually step back to right there and cut it there and get rid of that curve. Here, this, I'll just go right down just to the, actually, I'll kind of build all of this up around here. So we'll go to there, right here. Let's just pick this straight away right here and cut the vector. And up here, cut the vector. Now, all the rest of that means nothing to me. This is kind of my area here. Now on this, I would pick right here, somewhere on the eye, and I'll just go right there and I'll cut it right there. And then also somewhere here, I'll cut it right here. And I'll get rid of this inner part. And now I have these 3, or these loose vectors. So select this one first. Let's get out of node editing. Select that, and join with a smooth curve. Select this, and join with a smooth curve twice there. And then now I have a vector. If I were to turn everything else back on, I now have a vector that kind of is in this area here, right? So now I could come in and create that shape, whatever it might be. In this case, I'm not going to go a full 90. I'm just going to go, let's go 75. No limit, no flat area. So just 100% dome. Add it right to the shape that it's under. And I'll just call this the additional bulge. We'll just call it bulge, left bulge. Bulge. There's no D in bulge, right? All right. And what that has done is it's given me that material there. Now at this point also, the eyebrow, it's kind of a moot point. I think the eyebrow those 2 little worm looking things, they would be gone, right? And you would just use the eyebrow, and I probably should have used the outside line instead of the inside line. So let me close that. Let me go back. Let me take a step back here. Edit, undo, create shape. Go back into the 2D view for a moment. Edit. Let's turn that off for a second. Edit, undo close vector, undo join, undo join, undo delete. Not that one. Not that one. But nope, not that one. Hold on. It must have been the first one I did. Goofy me. Yep, it was. Of course it was. Step back. Okay. So on that cut vector, that one I would actually get rid of the inside. Again, this curve here doesn't mean anything to me. So back in node editing, we'll just back up to that straightaway, cut it there, delete that. That one's fine. Come back in here, cut the vector there, cut it there again, get rid of that. Down here, cut it. Up here, cut it, and then get rid of the rest of that. All right, one more time now. I can get out of node editing mode now. Select this one and this one, join with a smooth curve. Select this, join with a smooth curve, And here, looking at it in the scheme of things, I'll make sure everything is open. Kind of comes in, and that would be good. If I did the same thing on that side of this, following the same kind of procedure, that would look good. I could almost probably go right into the bridge of the nose over here, right down there, and just build all that puffiness up right in there. Give me just a second. Right. Yep. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to take 2 more seconds. We're going to come over here. We'll select this, this, and this again. Copy that to that additional vector layer. Turn all this off again. Come right back in and do rinse and repeat kind of on the right side. Node editing. Let's cut the vector here. Back here. Get rid of that. Oops. On this, cut it back here. Coming around, and I'm actually going to cut it there. On the eye. Go right about there. Get rid of that. Get rid of all of that. All right, now on the face, when I was looking at the face a moment ago, there's still a cavity. Let me see if I can bring this back over on the screen for a second. Let me try to find a little bit better resource. Open in a new tab. Bring this over here real quick. So the vectors that we're simulating is this vector here that's going to create this puffiness around the eye, but it comes in and give me just a moment. Open in a new tab. It comes in and you see there's a ridge, right? Kind of a ridge. And the reason why it's a ridge, it's a mask, right? There's human noses have to fit under there and all that stuff. But this comes up and there's still some divide. There's still some flat in there between. It's just the puffy rings around the eyes. One could say that, or one could say that somewhere right in here they connect and it's all puffy all around there, and then a little bit of material removed here, right? So either way, I think I'm gonna connect it all the way around. It's really kind of a, there is that little differential space there. So in this, I think I will continue to connect that, and that'll get joined. Oops. With a smooth curve. This, I kind of want it to come around and connect to that. So I'm just going to join with a smooth curve like that. And I need that inside vector so it doesn't create that, doesn't change that eye socket. And what kills me is I should have not trimmed away that socket right there. I should have just left that as is. So we'll leave that as is. I'll just simply rejoin that vector. So join back into one closed vector. I'll come back over here and remove that. I'll connect this to that, join with a smooth curve, and again, join with a smooth curve. That'll give me those two vectors to create that puffy material there. Over here, I'm not going to step all the way back. I'll just manually do it. Node editing. I will cut the vector here. Actually, I'll just delete this span. And I'll delete this span. I'll join this vector back with a smooth curve. And I'll join this one back with a smooth curve. Now this one, I actually need to kind of help it along a little bit. Okay, so that's going to be the two vectors. Let's turn everything back on. That'll be the two vectors that kind of create that puffiness around that ring and everything. So now I'll take this tool. For right now, we'll turn this off. Select that. I'm going to go 80%. All right, so what we have is that bulge, right? And the eyebrows, right, left and right brow. Now in this instance, here's how I would handle this. All right, I want to get rid of the brows, right? So what I would do is I would take my copy of my visible model and I would delete it. I would come back in and turn on my original parts. I would turn off the left and right brow. Okay. I would make sure my bulge is inside of this level. It doesn't matter where, but just inside this level here. Okay. And I would then come in and create a copy of the full visible model again. And then I would turn off my originals again, right? So now I have this model here. And now I have something that I can blend and work with. So with that copy of the model, let's go back to sculpting. And then we can, oops. And all I'm doing with the sculpting here is just kind of, there's no, like this black area here is the shadow shading that's turned on in your view, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you have the use shadow shading, on or off, it's off right now when we're in the sculpting tool, but it's turned on when we're not in the sculpting tool. So when we're not in the sculpting tool, these black rings and edges that you see coming here, those edges and all, that's the software giving you shadows, like lighting shadows and all. But if we were to turn that off, this is what our model looks like, right? Without that shadow shading and everything. But with the shadow shading on, it just gives that depth, right at that depth of the, where the light beam is hitting and all that stuff, depending on the light position. So when we're in the sculpting tool, it turns off the shadow shading automatically because we need to be able to see what we're sculpting, right? And everything. And the only thing really to be done here, I mean, it's pretty much done. It's just a matter of just kind of a little bit of blending. So we'll take the smooth tool. I'm actually going to go larger. I'll hold the control key down and go larger with my diameter. And I don't need that strong of a strength now. We'll go 35 on the strength, and we'll go 40 on the smoothness, and just kind of knock off some of those harsh edges. And we're going to do some on the edges of that mask or the hoodie. We'll fix that in just a minute. But all we're doing is we're just kind of blending now. Blend that smoothness and all, because we built that puff up. And I probably, want to take my smudge tool or my remove material tool, one of the two. And I would probably want to, in here, I'd probably want to smudge some of this way to kind of build up around the nose. And it would actually be the smudge tool on that. And I'll undo this because I'm not that great at it, but with a mouse. But I'd probably start right about here and kind of just pulling that material, kind of pulling it away from that between the eyes and into the nose area. And then go back with the smoothing. I'd probably end up turning that smoothing up, a lot more powerful than it is, but I'd really come back in over and, blend that in and everything. Let's take a little bit there. Let's see if I can pull just a little peak. Little peak right there. And then really go at it hard with the smoothing. Really kind of getting that different levels of that high and low, between the eye sockets and everything. And it's really a matter of, I'm not the greatest at that. There's still a lot of work to be done, kind of thing, but it's a matter of, getting that shape just right. And once again, let me see if I can take our reference image or a reference image, bring it back over here on the screen. And, again, this is built up. This peak here is built up because it's a mask for a human face, right? We have noses, a skull doesn't. But there's still, there's still a bone there, or is that cartilage? It might be. The bone stops a certain spot. So there's still some bone before the cavity and everything. So what we're doing is I'm smudging that, putting that material here. and then we would kind of smooth out and kind of create those creases in the face. And there's still, there's still material kind of up under it too, right? And the mouth caves in on the sides, and so we would probably, take some of that material away. There's a lot, you can spend a lot of time really perfecting something. You can kind of go basic, you can do whatever you want. Right. Right now, I just want to do something really quickly with the hoodie, and then we'll kind of call it a day. Let's go. I'm going to undo the nose for right now, but I do want to do something with the hoodie. Let's go here real quick, and I just want to show you real quick what I want to do with the hoodie, or what I would do with the hoodie is in that sculpting. What I'm trying to do is just push it down, or kind of smooth that peak. So when we're on the peak here, if I'm in the smoothing tool, depending on how much strength and smoothing I do, when I run over the peak and everything, all it's going to do is slightly kind of round over that edge, right? So it's not so harsh and sharp. And up here and everything, same thing. And here on this might be, because it's at an angle right now, here and here, this might be where I would come in and try to, the best of my ability, add some material here and here just to pump it up a little bit. I'm not that great at it, but and then I would come back with my smoothing and really hammer this area right here, kind of get it to blend back. Let's turn up the smoothness. Really hammer this back. I'm holding down that left mouse button, kind of really just trying to blend out what I just added there, that material that I added and all. Now, if there's a little bit too much material, then I would have to come back with the sculpting brush and just lightly kind of push it. I'm going to push it along the crease, right? So as I'm pushing it along the crease, trying to stay on that crease, right? Again, I can remove material. Don't do that. Let's put that back. Control Z, by the way, still works. Control Z and Control Y. But smoothing that material out so that when I do run back over it, I can somewhat do my best to try to, smooth that out. And again, you got to really be mindful of what you're getting into, and how much power and your strength and everything when you do this kind of stuff. I'm going with the undo brush, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. When you do this kind of stuff, you just got to really know what you're. It takes a little bit of practice, and I'm out of practice. I don't do it enough. I don't sculpt my models, but I really want on these edges, these hard edges, right? I really want to round them over. I want a high power, high strength, and on these edges, these sharp edges on the cheek areas and everything, I really want to kind of pound that down. I don't want to remove material because then it'll create like a divot in there. But I really want to take these sharp, hard edges and get rid of them. So you can see the difference between the left side and the right side, right? That hardness and all. So that's what we're doing. We're really kind of coming in and hammering these edges with that smoothing tool. Really, I got this strength and everything turned up, going back and forth over, really pushing it down, and everything to just kind of blend, get rid of those hard lines, those harsh lines and everything. And you know, just kind of blend and push that in. And over here, same thing, get rid of those hard lines. Really kind of push that down a little bit, you know. And on the mouth, I'll hold down the control key on this and I'll go larger. There's no sense of me using a small brush when I just really want to hit the whole area here. Right, I just want to kind of smooth that edge out. I don't need to really be a pinpoint brush when I'm doing that and everything. And again, just hitting those hard lines. All right, so on the mouth, there are some, you know, concave areas and stuff. We're not going to get into that, but it's basically, you know, I could try to use the remove material. I could make sure my brush is kind of in there and turn my strengths and stuff down and kind of sneak up on it. The strength and the smoothness, I'd probably want to increase that. But you're kind of creating that jawbone, you know, those dimple areas and stuff, and you're kind of removing that material and everything. And it's kind of a matter of, you know, blending it in to what you have up here and stuff. Again, using your sample images. There's a lot of different sample images and all. I'm going to hit the undo brush on that because I actually don't want to do that right this second. Now the undo brush, of course, when I use it is going to undo my smoothing as well too. So I have to go back with the smoothing, make sure I hit that again and all. But ladies and gentlemen, that is kind of the 1-2 punch of the mask. And for our final, oops, hold on a second. If you do not want to see this dialog, hold on. Do you really want to discard? No, I don't want to discard what I hit. I want to click OK. All right. And so our final piece, because it is baked as one, I can't add the different colors and everything to it to, you know, see that look and everything, you know, with the, you know, the black and white and all, but you get the idea. I don't need to really harp on it, but we can start to kind of build up from that. And there are lots, like, so you understand what I'm working for in the reference images, right? Let me grab it on my, and let me just pull the whole page up here, Google, right? So all I, you know, on the ghost mask, right? Those ghost mask images, and they have all kinds of goofy ones, right? But those reference images, right? That's what I'm looking at. I'm just looking at those reference images as I'm sculpting my own model. And trying to emulate what I see. And, you know, maybe the bulges look good, maybe they don't, maybe it looked better before, all kinds of things, right? So that's why I like keeping my original intact, because I could always, you know, turn off my copy. I could turn on my original. I could turn off, and you can see that with the bulges. It looks good when it has color to it, but I could turn off the bulges. And, you know, and maybe the mask looks good just like that, right? You know, I don't think it necessarily needs the brows, but we'll put them back in there just for right now. But maybe it looked better before the bulge was in, right? So it's all preference. It's all, you know, it all comes down to what what you like, and also what other people like too, and what other people want, your customers and all that stuff. And also we have, if we look at this, I personally prefer this if I on the ghost mask over this, right? But again, it might look good with the color. If I put the bulge back in there, turn this back on and add the color to it, it might look good with the bulge, right? Or without. So here it is with the bulge with the color, right? So there's a lot of work. It's by far not done. There's still some work. When I say a lot of work, it's not a lot of work. I mean, there's just more that one could do if they wanted to. But it really depends, But I just wanted to take tonight's class to show you the basics of the sculpting and or the modeling. I'm not a great sculptor, but how we would take our vectors and we would build on top of them. We would combine them, add, subtract. We would blend. We would draw new vectors to create the things that we need, that kind of thing, right? And if this was a flower and we had the center part was a little dome, and then all the petals were being built, around it. We were selecting those vectors and building that shape. Do the petals, are they fully dome round, or do they round off on the edges and then flatten across the top? Do they have a little dip in them? Is there a little bit of sculpting? It's things like that. We're modeling, right? We're modeling, and you got to start somewhere. I mean, there are modelers out there. There's some great sculptors out there. My team, they can sculpt a model like nobody's business. So 3D models and stuff. And I'm not a sculptor. I can build models and stuff and components and all, but I'm not great at like adding material and all that. Now with my pad and my I have a Huion pad and tablet and pen. It's more natural for me when I'm wanting to feather in something and all to use my stylus and my pad versus the mouse, right? Because the mouse I'm using, my mouse is in my right hand here, but with my stylus, my dominant hand and my left hand, when I'm drawing and stuff, and I feel like I have more control, I can fine tune some things. And yeah, so it's really useful for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that is we're going to end the class here with that. Let me look back and make sure I did not miss any comments and everything. Let's see here. Yeah, Wacom is a good drafting tablet. I have the Huion tablet. Let me see if I can grab that real quick. So the Huion tablet got some fingerprints on it, but I usually wear a glove and everything. But this tablet is the Huion 16. I believe it's the 16-inch. And Amazon, the whole kit and everything with the stand and all, I think it's around $250 and all. Great tablet to work with. Wacom is good too. They're just a little high price for me. But Huion is the Wacom beater in my opinion, price wise and also performance. But it's to each his own on that. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was great seeing you tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you jump on to the public classes on Thursday nights. We'll have a class tomorrow night, so we'll see you there. And also, if you're in the Facebook group, Spindle TV Facebook group, you'll see that the 7th, 8th, and 9th of November, I'm going to be teaching classes in Indianapolis, and Martinsville, Indiana. And I'm going to be demoing our digital woodcarver CNCs. I posted the post up there. If you're in the area or nearby and you'd like, we're going to have a 4-hour intermediate class on Saturday from 8 to noon. And then our open house is from noon to 5. There's going to be vendors there. Woodmiser is going to be there demoing their machines. We're going to have True Track, and we'll have RJB Wood Turner is going to be there, and a few others. Woodpecker couldn't make it, but they sent over $500 or $600 in door prizes we'll be giving away. On Thursdays, you can sign up for a one-on-one class, 1.5 hour long session. And those Thursday 1.5 hour sessions, they're one-on-one, so it covers the topics you want to cover. And then the Friday class will be that. And what I'll do is in the chat area, I'll leave the link so you can check out what we are covering in the Friday class. If there's something that's interests you and you're in that North Central area, hey, sign up. We'd love to see you. Seats are limited, so go there. And in the chat area, it's been there. Brooks, take it easy, bud. Good to see you. Glad to see you're back. I guess you decided to rejoin. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. All right. Y'all have a wonderful evening. And until next time, we'll see you soon. All right. Bye now.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later. I would have switched back to you, but it's way over on the other side of the room.
Yeah, no worries.
I'll get it worked
Laney.
out. I'll get it worked out. But y'all have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Sounds good. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.